Hello, Jen here, and I have a layout, actually a 2-page layout for you guys for the Learning is an Adventure YouTube hop. So this is a hop filled with tons of amazing scrapbookers. All their links are down below that you guys can follow for the whole day. And basically we're just celebrating school. In our neck of the woods, September is back to school, so it's a great time to pull out all of those school pictures, first day of school pictures, last day of school pictures, graduation, whatever it might be, and just celebrate our little sweethearts getting an education. So, I don't have any first day of school pictures. I mean, I kind of do here and there for my daughter, but in general, I'm at work several hours before my kids even get up for school, and I usually miss the first day, which it is sad, and back to school makes me really sad that I do miss a lot of that stuff. But what I do have that I thought would be fun to scrap is these really cute photos that my son's junior kindergarten teacher took. And I appreciate that so much. I love that we live in an age where our teachers and people who spend a lot of time with our children are able to capture all of these candid moments and send them to us, because it makes me feel a little bit better about missing out on them, that I still have the opportunity to kind of see what's going on. And I've actually scrapped these before. In the summer, I scrapped some pictures that my son's day home provider took when they were releasing their butterflies. And so I really appreciate those kinds of pictures. And these ones are, you know, they're cute. They're not the best quality, and she obviously printed them probably on 2 separate occasions, because some of them are glossy and some of them are matte, but he's stinking adorable, and I wanted to be able to get all of them together into one big layout. So I'm going to do 2 pages with 3 pictures on each page. Oh, and there is Storm. I don't know what it was about this particular layout, but the cats just would not leave me alone. I don't know if it's the crayons that you'll be seeing coming out soon, or the heating tool that I'm using. I'm not sure, but they have kind of been leaving me alone for the last little while, and they've been more interested in themselves, except with this layout. So there was something about it. Anyways, enough of my cats. Let's talk about my children. So I have 3 pictures on each of the pages, and then at the beginning you saw me kind of going through all of my back to school stuff. It's really not much. I have just a few papers that have the back to school theme to them, and a few papers that aren't specifically back to school, but I've kind of put them with all my back to school stuff because they work well with it. So these 2 notebook papers, for example, I think I kind of knew the minute I saw them that they were going to work well with back to school. So I pulled out 2 of them. They were the only 2 that I have, and the only papers that I had 2 of. And so that definitely for me is something that I like to have when I do a 2-page spread. They kind of make sure that the 2 pages go together really well. So yeah, not a ton of product, but I think I do okay cutting little embellishments from the pages that I do have. And then I decide to have this brilliant idea, and I'm using crayon. I originally planned to do mixed media, because why wouldn't you? It's back to school. The kids get to play with all the fun paint and crayons and glue and all that kind of fun stuff. So I really wanted to be able to incorporate that into my layout. But I thought, instead of doing my usual, which would have been the smushing technique, or maybe, I don't know, stencils or something like that, I thought I would try something different. So I pulled out the crayons, And here you can see that's page number 1. I cut chunks of crayon and used my heating tool to melt it and move it around just a little bit. So here are some tips. I'm going to share the tips with you, and then I'll go through the disclaimer. So my tips, if this is something that you ever wanted to do and you can't really tie your crayons down. So if you've ever seen this on Pinterest or anything like that, when people do it with art, they generally glue or tape or adhere the crayons to the canvas. That's usually how I've seen this done, or the wood or whatever it would be, and then use their heating tool to let the crayons drip. But on the paper, I didn't want to start with crayons at the top of the page and just have them all drip down the page, because I knew that there was going to be some wax that kind of seeped into the paper and it could get super messy. And so I liked this idea better of just having little shavings and little bits of crayon that have kind of melted and splattered all over the page. So to do that, I cut, as you can see here, I just cut little chunks from my crayon, and I did one color at a time and kind of let it dry in between. And what I found worked really well was if you gently lift up the paper, and you can see I'm sort of out of screen here, sorry. You gently lift up the paper and heat the back of the paper, and you do that everywhere, and just enough that the crayon starts to melt into the paper, and that will hold the crayon in place so that you can now do what I'm doing, which is lift the paper and move it around and get it to drip and stuff like that. The first time I tried it, I didn't do that, and the crayon just moves all over because obviously nothing's holding it down. It's not like embossing powder that sticks to the ink so that when you use your heat tool over top of it, it just melts in place. It doesn't blow. So that's one thing that I would definitely recommend, is to heat the back. You have to be pretty quick because the wax melts very, very quickly, which means that your paper starts to burn a little bit quicker. And so I'm constantly moving my heating tool. I'm never letting it sit too long in one place. If I felt like I was trying to get a piece of the wax to melt and move, but it wasn't moving right away, I would move to another section and just keep coming back to those places instead of holding my heating tool in one place for too long, because my paper was smoking. I will fully admit that there were times where I was holding it in place too long and the paper starts to smoke. And so you probably want to avoid that. So those are kind of my 2 tips. And I guess another thing too is that when you're melting it, every single time you apply heat to it, all of your colors will melt. Even if it's a previous color, it will remelt. It might not move around too much, but it will still remelt. So you just have to be careful because you can get some colors mixing and stuff. You just have to be quick and kind of watch how it goes. There was the second cat, totally attracted to this layout. I don't know why. So those are my 2 tips. And then my disclaimer. I know that the crayon is probably not something that's going to last. It's probably not something that is advisable to use on a layout, but I really just wanted to try it. I just wanted to experiment and see how it goes, and I kind of like doing stuff like that, and so I'm okay. I'm okay if it doesn't last. One idea that I had is possibly trying some hairspray, just spraying it to see if it kind of fixes it in place a little bit longer. I'm not sure that that's going to work. The other idea I had is to cover it with Mod Podge and kind of fix it into place and see if that just prolongs the life of the layout. But I do understand that I could be going through my album one day and the crayon is melting all over. or, you know, flaking off in the bottom of the page protector. I totally get that that is a big possibility. And so the one thing that I'm doing here to just hopefully help protect my photos a little bit is I've backed them. Excuse me. So I made sure to mat my photos and give them a good backing, and that way if I notice that something's not sticking together properly, I can pop those photos off and re-scrap them on another layout, and they might absorb a little bit of the crayon, but I'm hoping that that backing paper will absorb most of it and the photos won't be totally wrecked. So yes, I'm very much aware of that, but I still think it's kind of just a fun thing to experiment with, and for now, I'm okay with seeing how it goes. And generally what I do when I make a layout is I have two little stands. They're actually meant for plates, but I use them for my layouts. And so after I've done a layout, I stick them up on those stands and kind of display it for the month. And then at the end of the month, when I do my layout shares, I split them up and put them away at that point. So I've got a couple of weeks left where this layout isn't going to be in any kind of page protector or album, and so I can think about it and see if I want to try something to preserve the crayon. And after I took all of my pictures, after I put this all together and took all of my pictures, I did test to see how easily I would be able to pull all of the embellishments and pictures up. And if I decide that I want to try the Mod Podge or something along those lines, it will pull up fairly easily. So I'm pretty confident that I can get it to last for a while anyways. But if you like this general idea or you like the look of it but you don't want to tempt using crayons, I was thinking another fun thing would be just to use acrylic paint. Not watered down, not altered in any way, but the straight up acrylic paint. And you can use a straw if you wanted to kind of blow splatters, or you can just use a paintbrush and make some sloppy, messy splatters and achieve that same feeling with acrylic paint. And that would be really fun too. And if you were doing that, then definitely plan to have enough time to let every color dry before you add the next color. That would be my number one tip for that. And then that way you get the colors all layering on top of each other instead of blending into each other. So I matted the photos on the first page, and you saw that I had a strip of the back of that notebook paper which has those numbers. I really liked that, so I just tore that off of the paper. I added a border that came from the Imaginess paper that is very school themed. I've had that for such a long time. I don't even know where I got it from, but it's really, really cute. So I cut the crayons and just made a little border on the left-hand side. And now this is the right-hand page. And so I'm using the notebook paper that I tore, and I just put that on top of some Simple Stories paper. And I know I'm sacrificing all of the cut apart pieces on the other side, but I think I've come to the decision that I'm just not going to use the Simple Stories papers that I have that are really heavily vintage and distressed. So I have a few pieces that are a birthday theme collection, and I have some back to school, and I think the other collection, I think it's called Urology, and they all have that same feeling to them. Lots of tones of browns and beiges and yellow and very dark, deep colors, and I really struggle to use that. So I'm okay sacrificing that cut apart sheet. I just really wanted the yellow, and I I think it looks really nice. It's not quite the same yellow as what's on the back of the notebook paper, but it is really close to the yellow that is in the apple from that little banner that I cut out. And that banner comes from a 6x8 collection that I have, and I can't for the life of me find. Usually I try to keep some sort of piece of packaging or something that just reminds me where it came from, and I can't remember the company that made that, but it's monster themed, really cute, and it's in all of those primary colors, and it was just 6x8 papers, and I think I have some die cuts and some chipboard for sure, and it was meant as a collection that you could put together as a 6x8 album, and it's really cute. But I love that apple of my eye, so I fussy cut around that to put as an embellishment on the first page. And then with that school paper, I cut out a whole bunch of the little icons. So there's pencils and rulers and crayons, books, and what else? That might be it. And from that paper that had just the alphabet on it, I cut out JK. So there's a JK on both pieces of paper, or both sides of the layout, I mean. And so once I fussy cut all around those, now I'm just trying to tuck them into some cute little embellishment clusters. And I also added those cork hearts. So I'm down to 3. I can't believe it. I've had that pack for so long, and I love them. They're absolutely beautiful. And just for some reason, I struggled to use them. And now I'm down to only 3, which is one layout essentially. So that's pretty cool. So I've glued everything down. I've popped a few things up. And now I'm just going to add my title, which is Adventures in JK. And that was definitely inspired by the title of this hop, but also just because these are just random photos throughout his junior kindergarten days. I was looking through all of my thickers to see if I could find a way to spell in, just 2 letters, I-N, and none of them had an N. So all I did was took those white, are those Stampin' Up? Yes, I think they're Stampin' Up. Really flat letter stickers, and I flipped over one of the U's and I just colored them with the yellow crayon. So I think they look super cute and kind of match. And again, yes, that might not last, but for now, I just think that it was really cute and it matches the yellow crayon that's already in the layout. Then my final touch, I did a little bit of journaling. And then I remembered that I had this really fun stamp, and so it's an apple. It's really sweet, and I thought because I have that harsh black journaling and I have black as the border around my photos, that it might be fun just to do a little bit of stamping and bring in that apple motif from the banner. So I stamped that in a couple little spots. And that's it. That's my layout. It's 2 pages. I'm so excited that I got 2 pages done. This was a ton of fun, and you guys really have to check out all the other scrappers. So check those links down below and follow our hop. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Happy scrapping. Bye.